A black belt tried to humiliate the black janitor, but what happened next shocked the whole school. It happened on a Thursday morning, quiet, like most days at Northgate Academy. But something about the way the hallway echoed felt different, almost tense. The echo of sneakers squeaking against the gymnasium floor, the low thud of fists meeting punching bags, and somewhere in that rhythm, the janitor's mop glided across the tile like a slow metronome, until it stopped. "Yo, Mr. Clean!" a voice shouted across the gym. Heads turned, even the sound of the speed bag paused. Darius Shaw, 52, paused mid-swipe. He'd been working at the academy for 9 years, never late, never complained, just did his job with a quiet pride. He looked up slowly, already knowing who it was. Chase Weller, the Golden Boy, state karate champion, black belt at just 17. White, entitled, and more arrogant than skilled if you ask Darius. Chase had this way of performing even when no one asked, and today, he wanted an audience. "You ever train, old man?" Chase smirked, spinning a wooden bow staff between his fingers like a baton. Darius wiped his hands on a rag. A long time ago." "Oh, so you've seen Karate Kid? That kind of training?" Laughter erupted from Chase's crew, mostly other students who orbited him like he was some kind of star. "Come on, show us a move. Let's see what the janitor's got." Darius's face didn't change, just the slightest twitch in the corner of his mouth. Not quite a smile, not quite anger, something unreadable. "I've got work to do," he said, turning back toward the mop bucket. But Chase wasn't done. He strutted forward, lowering his voice just enough to make it personal. "Didn't realize mopping floors was a full-body workout." The laughter this time was meaner. One of the students pulled out a phone. And still, Darius said nothing. It would have ended there. Should have. But Chase made one mistake. He shoved the mop bucket. The dirty water sloshed across the clean floor, and for a moment, just a second, Darius's hand clenched, not in fear, not in embarrassment, but restraint. Chase leaned in, whispering, "Don't worry, maybe I'll leave you a tip after class." Darius turned back. His eyes, once quiet, now held something deeper, something ancient. "You really want to see what I've got, son?" he asked. Chase's grin widened. "You're on." Words spread faster than fire on dry brush. By lunchtime, half the student body had heard. "The janitor's gonna spar the black belt. It's happening after school. It's a joke, right?" But those who knew Darius better, those who watched him from the shadows, said nothing. They just showed up. By 3:45 p.m., the gym was packed. The mats were cleared, cameras were out, even Coach Rivera leaned against the bleachers, arms crossed, unsure whether to intervene or just let it play out. Chase stood barefoot, bouncing slightly on his toes, loose and cocky. Darius stepped forward slowly, still in uniform, gray coveralls, black boots, and that same rag tucked into his belt.
"No gear?" Chase asked. "I don't need it," Darius replied calmly. Someone snickered. Another whispered, "He's gonna get wrecked." Coach Rivera blew the whistle. "Keep it clean. Touch gloves." Darius didn't move, didn't flinch. Chase stepped forward, but instead of touching gloves, he fake-punched toward Darius's face, just to rattle him. Darius didn't blink. The match began. At first, Chase toyed with him, light jabs, quick footwork, a few roundhouse kicks that sliced the air. He was fast, no question, but he wasn't landing anything because Darius wasn't where he thought he was. Chase's strikes missed by inches. Each time, Darius shifted just slightly, just enough. His movements were economical, precise, as if he'd already seen every move. Then it happened. Chase lunged with a flying kick, and Darius moved, not back, but forward. In one smooth motion, he sidestepped, rotated on his heel, and caught Chase's ankle midair. What followed was a sweep so elegant, so efficient, that Chase was on the floor before he realized what had happened. The gym went silent. Darius didn't gloat. He extended a hand. Chase slapped it away and jumped up, red-faced. The next 5 minutes were brutal. Darius wasn't flashy. He didn't need to be. He moved like someone who had been taught to fight, not for sport, but for survival. Every block was rooted in patience, every counter in experience. And then, just as Chase went for another spinning kick, Darius ducked, stepped in, and tapped him twice in the ribs and once on the sternum. 3 hits, clean, controlled, and Chase dropped to one knee, gasping for air. Coach Rivera ran over. "That's enough!" Darius simply walked away. No words, no fist pump, just a man who had nothing to prove, but did anyway. The video went viral. By the next morning, it had 500,000 views. A week later, 2 million. Janitor schools arrogant black belt. Old man teaches young punk a lesson. Humility in action. Everyone had an opinion, but only a few knew the truth. That Darius Shaw wasn't just a janitor. He was a retired Marine, a former hand-to-hand combat instructor, black belt, 3rd Dan, Shotokan karate, and once, long ago, a national tournament champion. He'd walked away from that world years ago, after the war, after his wife passed, after raising his daughter alone. He took the job at Northgate not for prestige, but for peace, until peace was interrupted. Chase didn't show up for school the next day, or the day after. Rumors swirled. He'd transferred, or gone into hiding. Maybe he'd quit karate altogether. But a week later, Chase returned. Not loud, not arrogant. Quieter. Humbled. He approached Darius by the vending machines, alone. "Sir?" he began. Darius looked up. "I just wanted to say I'm sorry. For the mop, for everything." Darius gave a small nod. "Takes more strength to apologize than to fight." He hesitated. "Would you maybe train me?" Darius stared at him for a long moment. "First lesson. Stop thinking the world owes you something. Then we'll talk." The school changed after that. Somehow, everyone stood a little taller, spoke with a bit more care. Students who never noticed Darius before now greeted him in the halls. Teachers began holding doors for custodial staff. Even the principal asked Darius to speak during the next assembly, but he declined. He wasn't in it for the attention. He still mopped the same floors, polished the same trophies, and when asked why he hadn't taken the job elsewhere, with his skills, he could have coached at a national level, he'd just smile. "I've already been to the top," he'd say. Sometimes the best view is from the ground. Months later, during a local martial arts event hosted at the academy, Chase stood front and center with a new belt. Not black, not yet, but earned. As the audience applauded, Chase turned to the crowd and said something unexpected. "I'd like to thank Mr. Shaw, not for teaching me how to fight, but for teaching me how to listen, and for showing me that real strength isn't about fists, it's about respect." The applause that followed wasn't for Chase. It was for the janitor in the back, leaning on a mop, quietly smiling. That night, Darius returned home and placed a fresh frame on his living room wall. A photo, black and white, of him and Chase both bowing. His daughter Maya, now 16, looked up from her homework. "Why that one, Dad?" Darius paused. "Because that's what change looks like." She nodded slowly. "I'm proud of you," she said. Darius chuckled. "I'm just the janitor, remember?" Maya smiled. "Not to me." Moral of the story. Humility isn't weakness. Kindness isn't submission. And the strongest person in the room is often the quietest. Never underestimate someone based on their title, their clothes, or their silence. Because one day, the person you tried to humiliate may just be the one who teaches you the lesson of a lifetime. If stories like this move you, inspire you, or even make you think a little deeper, don't just watch, subscribe, so you don't miss the next one. Be the first to witness the next powerful journey we bring to life. Your next favorite story might just drop tomorrow.